I've never done this before. It's a live stream, and we'll see how it works out. If I get an echo, because I've actually got myself on my other screen, so I can see what I look like. Okay, I do have an echo, so let me just see if I can switch that off. Okay, so I've turned off the other screen, so I don't hear myself. And we're going to ask this question. I've got a spreadsheet open. We've heard this number bandied about $250 billion. The dollars in front of that. So that's 250, 123, 123, 123, 123. That look right? 14? That might be trillion. Let's go there. And now, because I made my screen so small, I can't see what's going on with all my formatting. So I need to go to there and format cells. Okay, there's got to be a first time for everything. So we'll change that to number. We'll say use thousand separate, and we'll take out those, and we'll say okay. And now we've got 1,000, million, billion, trillion. So maybe that's a bit much. Let's take out 3 zeros and see what we end up with. We have 1,000, million, billion. We need one more zero. Okay, let's put a zero back in there. And we've got a zero. So that's, then we've got the exchange rate, the dollar, the rand. It's 18.14 today. We've heard multiply that, we get this number. Maybe we should just do that and then see what we can do with the whole spreadsheet. See, when you do things live, things become interesting. Let's just make this like that. Go there, format cells, number, turn off that, thousands. Okay. And now we have that, which is 1,000, million, billion, 4.5 trillion rand. So that's rand. And that's for the so-called energy transition. Energy transition. The number that's being bandied about. Let's just look at myself. I'm wearing this shirt, which, can you see, it says, sometimes I use words I don't understand, so I can sound more photosynthesis. And of course, because of the background, it disappears. But that's the funny sentence I've got on. I've got another brick in the wall behind me as my virtual background. And I want to just ask this question. What is it going to cost us to transition? Okay, so we know that we've got 28 gigawatts at the moment before load shedding. And we know that the power stations are not very effective. They should be 92%, and the government wants 75%, and maybe they're at 55% at the moment. So we're pretty much far down the road. So what happens if we take one house? Let's suppose that we go and get a house or a system. So we're going to just work the spreadsheet out as we go, and we're going to say houses being installed, and we're going to work with 10 houses. So let's put here 10. And we're going to have total houses that we've done for the project so far, equal to 10. And then we're going to have, what is this house going to have on it? Well, it's going to have some PV, photovoltaic panels, peak. How much is it going to have? Well, say 6 kilowatts. And this is going to be peak kilowatts. And then it's going to have an inverter, peak kilowatts. It's going to have 8. So we can have 6 kilowatts of PV, and we're going to have batteries, lithium ion batteries. We're going to have, this is going to be kilowatt hours. We're going to have 20 kilowatt hours. Let's just make this wider. And the total cost of this is, cost of this is 200,000 Rand. There we go, that's looking good. Make this rands. So we've got 6 kilowatt peak, and that 6 kilowatt peak is for one house. So now let's just move this to here, and so we're going to have one house being installed, and we're going to have 6 kilowatts for one house, 8 kilowatt inverter, 20 kilowatt up. And we're still going to need backup. I'm going to put here plus backup, e.g. coal, nuclear, gas, diesel, whatever. Hydro. What else is there? Hydro. Some storage. There's so many possibilities. Biodigesters. Spelling letter. Okay. And then we're going to be doing the system in Cape Town. So let's just make some assumptions. Okay. Cape Town. Solar hours average per day. That's solar hours average per day. So if we take peak sun hours, we get total solar hours equals 6 times 5, 30 kilowatt hours. Now the other thing is, rule of thumb. Just go here, let's move this down. Rule of thumb is, you can put that at the top, assumptions. Go there, go here, move this down. Rule of thumb is that 20 kilowatt hours is 200,000 Rand. So in other words, 1 kilowatt hour is 10,000 Rand. Okay, so that's the rule of thumb. 1 kilowatt hour, 10,000 Rand. So let's put the kilowatt hour here. The 1 there. And then you can see if we multiply 1 by 20, we get 20. And if we multiply 10,000 by 20, we get 200,000. But looking a bit weird, so we're just going to move this assumption to the right. We're going to go move this like that. We're going to need to move this to the right, because otherwise, okay. And make this a bit wider. Okay, so now we have 30 kilowatt hours of available sun all year round, but in summer, maybe have 8 hours. Got that Cape Town there. We need to move this. In winter, we only have 3. So we have this issue to deal with. But we can get really complicated really quickly, and we want to be really, really simple. So now, if we're doing 10 houses, we're going to have this times the number of houses. Number. Okay. We're going to make, sorry, did that funny? That equals that times that, 60. And D11 is a constant. So we're just going to do like that to make it a constant. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And we've got 2 million Rand for, we're going to have cost per watt. Remember that it's kilowatts, cost per kilowatt. Let's do cost per kilowatt. It's going to be equals, okay, let's do it here, equals that divided by that. But there's also cost per peak kilowatt. Which is equal to that divided by that. And we have other kinds of costs. So let's try and determine what if we have any kind of understanding at the moment. We're saying that we have, okay, now we're going to say that this time for installation in days. I'm going to say this is going to take 2 days to install. And then we're going to say we're going to need, okay, let's put that over here. Let's move that over there. Insert that there. Okay, we're going to need that. So we're going to need 20 days for that install. Of course, if we had 10 teams, then things might change. It's going to need number of people for install. Number of people for install. We're going to need 3 people. Okay, which means that for that we're going to need 30 people. But if we're taking 20 days, then do we need 30 people? No, we need 3 people. So we need to play with that because we're not going to. This assumes that we're using the same group of people. So this 20 days, we could do it in 2 days. We could make it 2 days with 30 people. So we need to look at that, this relationship here of how long is it going to take us to install. So there we got 1. Here we've said, are we going to take 20 days with 3 people? Or another possibility is if we take 3 days with 20 people. This one's 20 days with 3 people. This one is 3 days with, sorry, this one is 20 days with 3 people. This one is 3 days with 20 people. We need to look into that and try and understand how many people we need. Now, let's check that out for now. Now this I call a block. This is the block. Now, in the next section we go 100. And so we need 100 houses being installed. Okay, this is 10 blocks. And then we're going to have 1,000. Let me just see what I've got in my other spreadsheet so I can see where I went with this. Okay, I went 1,000. I called that one suburb. And then I went 10,000. And I called that 10 suburbs. And I went 100,000. Called this one town. And I went 1 million houses. I called this one city. And then I said, what's after that? I stayed at 1 million. So 1 million, Western Cape, Cape Provinces, and then where am I? see where we are over here. South Africa. This is 1 million. We're working on all of South Africa. And this is going to be 1 million. And we're going to do totals. We're going to start with this. Okay, this is constant. Or 1. This is the block. We're going to say this is equal to 100. So this is going to equal to that plus that. And we're going to copy this across. When we get to here, we're going to say how long is this time for installation is in days. But what we're doing is we're doing a different kind of time here. We're saying months to build. Let's do that. Insert months to build. I'm assuming that it's taking 6 months. Each one is 6 months. So I'm going to be doing 6 months for that. And as we scale, it's always going to be 6 months. Okay, and if we look at how long this is, years since start. Years since start. So this is equal to 6 months divided by 1 year. So it's half a year. Okay. Obviously need to sort this out with some formatting. It's fine, we'll just go there. We'll say format cells because I can't see everything I need to look at. Decimal places. So it's just on my other screen. Okay. What happened? Don't know. It's meant to be 0.5, right? Decimal places. 1. Okay, I don't know why it's not working. That's the joys of doing things. Let's make this bigger so we can see more stuff on the screen. We've got to go to, yeah. See, it shows 0.5 there, but it's not showing this. Format cells, let's try one more time. Okay, whatever. It's not wasting any time on that. Now it's going to be 1 year. It's going to be 1.5 years. It's going to be 2 years. It's going to be 2.5 years. It's going to be 3 years. It's going to be 3.5 years. It's going to be 4 years. 4.5 years. 5 years. 5.5 years. That's where we are. Maybe we can do this. Maybe it's getting confused because of the overlay. I don't know. Let's get number. Decimal places. Take that out. Take that out. Okay, it's not doing what I wanted to do. Okay, it doesn't matter. And we're going to do year since start. We're going to do project year. Somebody can tell me why that's not working, but it's fine. Project year. I suppose we start this in 2022 because we've got a few months to go. 2022. We'll do 10 houses before the end of the year. This is going to be 2023. 2023. 2024. 2024. 2025. 2025. 2026. 2026. 2027. 2027. Okay. So that's where we are. We end up in 2027 with 6 million roofs. We're talking about roofs here. Okay. And that's where we are. Project here. Total houses. Houses being installed. 1. Number installation days. Total houses. Peak demand. Blah, blah, days per house. Okay. Now, we're always going to have days per house. So let's change this to days per house. Okay, so it's always going to be 2, right? It's always going to be that, days per house. We're always going to stick. Some houses are going to take 1 day, Some houses are going to take 2 days, some houses are going to take 3 days. And here we're going to say that and then we're going to say how many houses can a team install, and so on. So, and then we can work out how many teams are required and how many people are required and all that kind of thing. I'm not going to get into that right now. I'm trying to work out what this whole system might cost and when do we get to that magical 28 gigawatts. So at the moment, we've got cost per kilowatts, got total cost per kilowatt, total sun hours. Here we have PV total. So here we have equals 60 PV, inverter total. We have 80 because that's the first one. Lithium ion. Kilowatt hour total. 100 kilowatt hours. Now remember, that's 10 houses. We're doing 20 kilowatt hours per house. So now we're going to go and say that here we're doing 100 houses. So this one is we doing D15. And D is changing, but 15 is constant. So we have to change that. Take out the constant on the D and see what happens if we do that. We get 6,000. So is that correct? We've got D21 times 6,000, but now that's a problem because we need to have C21 as a constant. C21 as a constant. We do that and we get 600. That's correct. Let's copy these down to there. No, don't do that. Because this D15. Okay, so we need to do this as C22. Take the D out. We need to do this one as take the D out, C23. And this one, take the D out, so C25. We can copy this and see if we get the number we're looking for. Get that, and we get that. 20 million. And we do more. I'm going to take out cost per kilowatt for now. And we'll get back to that. Total solar hours, PV total. Let's just see what we get here. We get 60 equals D21. Now we need to have D21. So now we have equals E21 plus that. Okay. And then we get, copy this down. We get that, which is, we just look here, we can see that number plus that number, fine. Lithium ion total, we get that number plus that number. Okay. So this is now, we're getting to megawatt hours of battery capacity. Now we do 1,000 houses. Let's see, we just copy these numbers, all these numbers, see if it makes sense. We're doing 1,000 houses, so we've got 6,000 PV peak, we've got 8,000 kilowatts, so 8 megawatts. Inverter peak, we've got 20,000, 20 million kilowatt hours. It's now costing us 200 million rand. We've got PV total of 6 megawatts. So we're going to put here PV total, kilowatts, inverter total, kilowatts. And we're getting to a very nice point here, 22 megawatt hours. So now let's just copy this across and see what the picture looks like. We're going to have to just fix these columns. Let's go there, and just double click here, make the columns all the right width. Okay. So you can see that, let's just go and put column 1 as a review, view. I need to do freeze panes, freeze first column. So we can say freeze first column. Right. Should probably freeze the top as well, but let's just move across over here. First column is frozen. You can see we get to this point, but 36 million kilowatts. And what's that? If we take this, we say, let's go back here, PV total megawatts, total megawatts, and battery total megawatt hours. And just copy this just to get to here. We get gigawatts, megawatts. We're going to go to the end just to see where we are. Remember, I'm doing this live, and if I'm making mistakes, we'll fix them later, because that's how we learn, and we're just going to go. So this is going to be equal to this number divided by 1,000. Go here and here, divide that by 1,000. I'm going to take this number. Okay, it looks a bit weird, but we'll fix that now. These numbers. So yeah, go that number, so this number divided by 1,000. Copy these down to there. We're going to take these numbers, okay, just fix the layout. Right click, no. Format cells. Okay, you don't see this because on the other screen. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Take that out. Use 1,000 separator and say okay. Okay, it's not formatting. I don't know why it's not formatting, but somebody's going to work out why it's not formatting. But if we go just to 1, let's go data. No. Formulas. No. Home. Only one at a time. Format cells. Let's move this to the screen. Maybe it's saying, I don't know. It shouldn't have anything to do with the screen, but it's okay there. Okay, so it works one. It's working one at a time, but it's crazy. But number, ding ding, use thousands. Let's see what works if it comes from the other screen. Oh, it's something to do with it being on the other screen. I don't know what that is, but something to do with the other screen. I just want to just format these quickly because I need to. Number. Okay. Okay. So what have we got here? We've got 37 gigawatts. Okay. In 6 years. We've got 49 gigawatts of inverter. And we've got 122 gigawatt hours of batteries. Now, something interesting happens. We can make this assumption. When we looked at the cost, right, just now. I'm going to make this bigger. I don't know what we'll do on your side. The cost in rands for one house is 200,000, but the cost when you do 10 is 200,000. But because you're doing 100, you're going to bring the cost down. You're going to assume that you're going to bring the cost down by 5% each time you scale. So we're going to say times 0.95. 19 million instead of 20 million. And then we can do that each time. But let's just leave that out for now. I just want to see what is our total cost. Equals sum over here. Got a big number, which is 1,000, a million, a billion, a trillion. And if we take that and we do it, this is rands. We say dollars. Can we get this divided by the rand dollar number we had just now? Where is it? It's at the top somewhere. 18 point whatever. 67. What number is this? 1,000, a million, a billion. $67 billion. So now we're being told that it's $350 billion. But this very small equation is 67 billion. And it's not going to be that much because as we get bigger and bigger, it's not going to be 200,000 rand a house. It's going to be less. And the other thing is our peak demand changes as we increase. So in other words, one block needs a peak of 80, but 10 blocks maybe only needs a peak of 750. And one suburb might only need a peak of 7,000. And 10 suburbs might only need a peak of 65,000. And so as you increase the scale of your grid, you don't need as much power for everybody to be consuming at the same time. As your grid gets bigger, you get the learning curve, you get economies of scale, you get, let's suppose you live on a block with 10 houses. Maybe someone's at an office in the day, someone else is at home, someone else is on holiday. One house has got 2 people, one house has got 2 people plus children. So every house is different. Plus, we don't all need to use our heavy loads at the same time. So the heaviest load is the geyser and the washing machine. The heaviest load that runs for the longest amount of time is a pool pump. And then you have things like irons, but relatively, irons aren't a problem. You can iron on sunny days, you can run the washing machine on sunny days, and so on. So this is just to get some kind of feel for what's going on. Now, I've got another spreadsheet that I've been messing around with, and I've said that 173,000 people can build this grid, and it can be done if you build this in 7 years and you get to 6.1 million houses, number of people, just get the spelling of your number of people involved in the project, 173,000. Okay, and that's permanent. So once the people are finished South Africa, they can go elsewhere. And the one house cost, which I've got as 200,000. Okay, when I get to the 6th year, let's just go one house cost. I've got that there. So let's go insert one house cost. One house cost is for each scale. So 200,000 is that. And for 10 houses, we're still working with 200,000. But for 100 houses, we're doing 95% of that. So it's equal to that times 0.95, 90,000. And if we extrapolate that to there, you can see eventually we get to a point in 6 years' time where the cost of the system is half. I mean, look at this. If you're installing 1 million houses and you're putting 6 kilowatts on the roof, and each panel is 350 watts. You need a lot of panels. You need a factory. Lithium, you're going to need 1 million inverters, maybe even 2. You need a lot of batteries. You're going to have a whole industry being created around this. Let's go back to this number being correct. This number here I've got as equals the number of houses times that, but I need to change that to say equals the number of houses times the current cost. Okay, and then I need to extrapolate that to where we're going. And you can see how the cost dramatically came down from $71 billion to 46, sorry, 40, from 71 billion dollars to $46 billion. And what I'm trying to show you here is that we need to be working on taking homeowners and small businesses and SMMEs off the grid. And maybe when we get to these kinds of sizes and these kinds of capabilities and these kinds of opportunities, we get to a point of saying, hey, big business, you can buy, the shopping center can buy electricity from me. The big companies running in the cities can buy electricity from homeowners. And we can supply the grid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There are other things, for example, that we need in this grid. Let's go and look at that. At the moment, we have things like coal, nuclear, gas, hydro, pump storage, diesel, biodigesters, wave energy, ocean current energy, river energy, which you could, renewable energy, and then you have renewable energy. With renewable energy, you have PV. We only talk about PV, photovoltaic. You have wind, all kinds of things, geothermal, geysers and things. You could say that wave energy, ocean current energy, those are renewable, right? That's because they're new. That's what we're working with here. Renewable biodigesters, we've had them forever, but we're going to put them under renewable. River energy, we're going to put that under renewable, as long as the rivers are flowing. We've got renewable energy as a system, and we've got fossil. This could be called fossil energy. And even fossil energy is renewable over a very long period of time. Hydro I've got there because it requires a huge amount of concrete, pump storage, concrete, diesel, petrol, generators, and so on, peaking power stations. Then we have a whole lot of other things that we have. We have something called demand response. So that's when the utility asks people to switch off. We have energy efficiency. And energy efficiency is interesting because 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, it might cost you 1 Rand to save electricity and 10 Rand to make the electricity. But if you think about it, the cost of photovoltaic panels has come down by 90% over 14 years, and the cost of photovoltaic panels, including batteries, has come down by 95% over 14 years. So if we look at that 90% decrease in costs of renewable energy. So this is excluding batteries, 90%. This is including, see, this is what happens when you do a format for the whole thing, 95%. So we can go here, and so there. Let's do that. There we go. Okay. So that's excluding batteries, including batteries, over 14 years. Let's just say from 2008 till 2020. So this is demand response. Other ways Other ways of saving. Energy efficiency is LEDs, all that kind of thing. Demand response is the utility asks us to switch off. What I'm trying to show you here, what I am showing you here, I'm not trying to show you here, okay, is, and the other thing is that we've got heard wind energy is great on the coast for the morning and evening peak because of the sea and land breeze. In the morning, the wind blows in one direction, and in the evening, the wind blows in the other direction, because in the morning, the sea is relatively warm compared to the land, and in the evening, the land is relatively warm compared to the sea. And so this change causes drafts and winds near the coast. So it makes sense to put wind turbines on the coast because you have this morning and evening breeze almost every single day. The other thing is ocean current energy. You have, say, 2 knots ocean current, not knows, knots, okay, which is equal to an 80 knot wind, because the ocean is 40 times more dense than the air. And this is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people have been trying to work out how to solve this problem, but of course it's salty, it requires all kinds of interesting technology, and that's what we do. We don't have a shortage of technology. What do we have? We have shortages. We have abundance. Okay. What shortages we have? We have electricity shortage. We have water shortage. We have thinking shortage. Abundance, sun, seeds, ideas. So we're getting around to saying, and we have an abundance of technology, believe it or not. We have abundance of money. Shortages of people working together. So what do we need to work on? We need to work on thinking and people working together as our core crises in our society today. Because we should be bringing down the cost of electricity and water all the time because of thinking and people working together. And then all these things are abundant together with thinking and people working together, bring down the cost of electricity and water. And if electricity and water costs come down, then food price, transport, let's say transport prices come down first. Food prices come down. Living costs come down. Environmental costs come down. Being together time increases. Now, Mr. Dorata said this morning, 10th of October, Mr. Dorata, the cost of electricity in South Africa. Now we need to look into this. Let's look at Germany as an example. Germany has an average of 2.4 solar hours. Sorry about the funniness going on. You can see it up over there, 2.4. South Africa, let's have Cape Town, 4.9. Northern Cape, 8.2. Let's just go and look at that. And get format cells. It's putting it on that screen. I just need to move it across. For some reason, it's a bit weird. I'm going to take decimal places. Say OK. Right. So this means that let's suppose you've got $1 billion. Dollars. 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's $1 billion, right? So now, if you just did a direct equation and you said equals $1 million divided by 2.4. Then you get some kind of let's do F 78 constant. You get a ratio of spend to output. So here you could say that in the Cape Town cost is half, so equals that divided by that. Okay, we're going to get that problem equals that divided by that. Okay, we need to just fix that problem so we can see what's going on over here. Format cells. So in South Africa, in Cape Town, where I live, and 4 million other people, approximately, the cost of installing renewable energy is half of what it is in Germany. And in the Northern Cape, it's about a third. Let's say somewhere between a quarter and a third. And then you need to do this other thing. We need to do east-west grids, not north, in the southern hemisphere. Because an east-west grid lengthens the solar day. So the 4.9 over here, okay, let's just go and get the, I'm trying to do a formula, put a thing there so we get a sentence. If we put east-west grids over here, maybe this becomes 5.5, maybe even 6 solar hours. But the total kilowatt hours actually goes down. So there's something else that we need to understand is that when you put the solar panels due north, you're going to get more production. When you put them east-west, you're going to get less total production, but longer solar day. So you have this curve. I'm going to show you a curve, but I'm not going to show it now. I'm going to show another curve. Curve with big it like a normal distribution. That's a normal case. Flatten the curve means that you get longer solar day, and it means less total production. It's called ambiguity and paradox. Something else that we have a problem with. Crises. Ambiguity and paradox is a crisis. People don't know how to deal with it. If I hear an expert saying we need something, and then on the other end saying we don't need something, and then people don't know what does the guy want. We don't understand the context. So the reason is understand the context. Okay. Now, what did Mr. De Ruyter say? The cost of electricity in South Africa is cheap. What does that mean? I mean, but a curve says in 2008, I spent 50 cents per kilowatt hour in my house. 2008. Let's do that. 208. Now in 2022, what's the cost? 3.30, which is what? So this says 250 cents, should say 50 cents, not 250 cents. Okay, 50 cents per kilowatt hour. And here we're at 330 cents per kilowatt hour. And if 50 cents per kilowatt hour inflation, let's just take that out. Real, actual. Inflation cost, because I worked that out as well, is Going to work out where I put this number so I can give you the real number, but it's probably the least number on the right. Here we go. So I've just got this on another sheet. 1 Rand 14. 114 per kilowatt hour. So in other words, we should be paying 114 cents per kilowatt hour. We're paying 3.3 equals 330 divided by 114, which is 3 times. Let's just get a number, see what that says. Format cells. Move this over here. Take that and just make it 2 decimal places. We're paying 2.9 times more than we should be paying. This is because something called the learning curve. I'm going to refer to this. It means the cost of things should come down if we do our science and engineering and project management correctly. If it's going up, problem. The cost of electricity should come down from 330 to 114 to just allow for inflationary increases. And most people's salaries goes up with inflationary increases. Okay, I think I'm going to stop now. I think everybody's got some idea what's going on. I wonder if anybody's watching this. I see 2 people watching. So thank you for watching. And maybe you can see some more later on. And if you want the spreadsheet that I've done, I'm happy to send it to you. Just ask me for it. Send me an email and I'll share it with you happily. And if you want to ask me questions, I'll share them with you happily. And let's just go back to the beginning. We were told that the cost of the energy transition is going to be $250 billion. And what I've discovered over here is that maybe it's $46 billion, which is 1/5 of the cost. So somewhere between is probably the right answer. And maybe this is overestimating, because I've done more complex calculations where I show that actually it's closer to $33 billion. And that's for 37 gigawatts of PV and 49 gigawatts of peak demand and 122 gigawatt hours of battery capacity. So let me have your questions and let's see where we end up. Thank you. Share, like, subscribe, ask questions. Tell me what you think about me doing live broadcasts, unedited, and let's see where we go. Thank you and good afternoon, good night, good morning, happy weekend. Just be happy. Just take this information and look for the positive that can come out of it.